A beautiful lady used to visit their village every 6 months just to dance. Amara had never seen such beauty in her life. No one knew if she was a ghost, a human, or a spirit, because she would always go through the path that led to the main market once she finished dancing, and then return exactly after 6 months. Amara had followed her on many times to beg her to teach her how to dance. But each time she wanted to talk to her along the path she took, something would take her attention away, and the lady would disappear before Amara turned to look at her. That alone made Amara believe that she wasn't an ordinary human. But Amara was still determined to ask her to teach her how to dance. Then one day, the lady got killed. Here's how it happened. She had an amazing way of moving her waist, while her shiny waist beads would move up and down and hit each other, making another sweet sound. The beautiful waist beads were what everyone talked about whenever she was around. She danced to the sound of the wind without music, making all her moves perfect. In Amara's village, no man was really interested in any lady without good dancing skills. So Amara wasn't always considered lucky when young men chose wives. She never knew how to dance, being a young girl. Her best friend Ruka would always laugh at Amara's dancing skills whenever she danced, which made Amara stop dancing, but she never stopped loving people who danced well. Young men in the village loved and wanted the dancing lady. Most young and married men even asked her out, but she turned all of them down. No one knew why she was always coming to their village to dance, but the one thing that brought people together, making everyone happy, was her dance, because everyone was always there to watch her. This didn't sit well with Dogo and Amika, who were regular customers to all the native doctors around. Dogo told Amika that he was going to ask her out and then get her to become his wife, but Amika laughed at him very loudly. How can such a beautiful girl, who turned down very wealthy men, settle for you, a common palm wine tapper? He asked, covering his mouth and laughing at the same time. It will surprise you when it finally comes to pass, said Dogo. 6 months later, the dancing lady showed up again to dance. After she was done dancing, Dogo went after her along her usual route. Hello, beautiful lady. Will you like to become my wife? You're such a beauty to look at. I would be glad if we could spend the rest of our lives together. I'm not interested, she said, and then turned to leave. But I love you, he said again. The dancing lady stopped, turned, and then smiled. Thank you, she said, and then continued walking. Dogo looked left and right to be sure no one was watching, but Amara had followed them without them noticing. She hid behind a big tree close by, but she could hear all they were saying and was also looking to see what was going on. Dogo moved faster towards her, picked her up, and then dropped her on the ground. Amara wanted to scream but thought, I'm helpless. What if things turn the other way? She decided to keep calm and watch, since the lady herself didn't cry for help. Dogo brought out a feather from his pocket and then quickly touched her forehead with it. She didn't even fight back or struggle. Dogo then laid her on her back. I was told by a native doctor that you're a mermaid. Forgive me for what I'm about to do. I was told that after having my way with you, I would become wealthy and powerful. Please forgive me, he said. Dogo then laid with her right before Amara's very eyes. She covered her mouth to stop herself from screaming. After Dogo was done, he tapped her and then wished for blessings and asked her to go. But she didn't get up. As soon as Dogo noticed she was dead, he put his 2 hands on his head. This wasn't the plan. I'm finished, he said to himself. He looked left and right again, carried the lady on his shoulder, and then threw her body in the bush very close to the road and went his way. As soon as he left, Amara went to where he had thrown her body, but her body had disappeared. Seeing this, she ran home as fast as her legs could carry her, and as soon as she arrived home, it started to rain heavily. There was no sign of rain before that time, but it rained heavily. The heavy rain, which lasted for 7 days and nights, stopped anyone from going about their daily work. No market, no farm, nothing. Amara couldn't tell anyone what she had seen because Dogo was feared in her village. He could do and undo anything with magic. On the 8th day, villagers decided to go to the market to buy and sell, even though it wasn't a market day, because of the rain the previous days. Amara's mother had sent her to the market. She was so scared taking that route, but finally found the courage to do so. As soon as she reached where the lady's body was thrown and disappeared, she saw a jumping fish. The sight of it startled her as she stood there on her feet, watching the fish jump, and then she moved towards it to take a proper look. Poor little fish, it must have been washed down here by the rain, she said to herself as her heart kept beating fast and her head turning left and right. "Why don't you pick it up and go drop it in the river?" a voice said from behind, startling her. She turned quickly to see who it was. It was the voice of Ngozi, the village midwife. Ngozi was loved and respected in the village because of her kind heart and care for any pregnant woman who went to her for delivery. "Good day, Ngozi," Amara greeted, bending her knees. "Good day, Amara. You should help the fish get back into the river instead of just standing there and staring at it. These creatures, too, have loved ones. You know, more reason why I don't eat them. Who knows if nature has a special blessing for you if you help this one instead of ignoring it and allowing it to be made into soup by another," she said as she left for the market. Amara nodded many times. She moved very close to it, picked it up, and then put it in her bag. She then started to think about whether to go to the market first or go to the river. She finally decided to go to the river. She arrived there, brought out the fish and put it down into the river. As soon as she dropped it, it disappeared, and then she started to hear a beautiful song coming from far away. She stopped for a minute to see where it was coming from, because the sound of the music started getting closer. Then she saw about 6 young ladies dressed in white and dancing on water, while another lady with the tail of a fish sat on a golden chair before them, also wearing a golden crown. "Mermaids," Amara said with shock, opening her eyes wide and then took a few steps backward. She was going to run away when she could no longer feel her legs. They became numb. "Oh no," she said again, with fear written all over her face, struggling to lift up her legs, but she felt nothing. "Help! Somebody please help!" she cried, but there was nobody to help. The mermaids started to come towards her. They were very beautiful ladies with hair almost touching their feet and their skin as smooth as egg yolk. Amara looked left and right again. "Somebody help!" she screamed, but this time they were a few feet away. They finally came to her and the music stopped as soon as they did. The lady sitting on a chair then stood up, smiling widely, showing perfectly arranged teeth. Amara looked closely. It was the lady Dogo had his way with, whose body later disappeared when she died. "You," Amara said in a shaky voice. "You're alive?" she asked. "Yes, I am. I saw you follow me on many times. I also know you don't know how to dance and would want to learn," she said. "Yes, but I thought you died," Amara asked with curiosity. "No, I didn't die. I was going to bring good fortune and blessings into your land, but the human mind is wicked. That last dance I did before the young man forcefully had his way with me was the dance to open doors. But I took back all I was going to give as soon as he did that to me. He thought I had died, but I didn't. I only returned to where I came from," she explained. "But how come you never fought back being a mermaid?" Amara asked again, shaking. "Some things happen for a reason. I know the guy is feared, but what he did will lead to his downfall," she said. "That fish you caught and brought back isn't an ordinary fish. In fact, here she is," she said, pointing at the lady beside her who stood there, smiling at Amara from ear to ear. "I was going to finally destroy your village for that young man's sin. But my daughter begged and asked to be turned into a fish. If no one had helped her and killed her for soup, I would have destroyed your village and every human in it. But for saving my daughter and bringing her home, I shall bless you and your family beyond your imagination. Come back in exactly 7 days. I shall give you a gift that will turn you into the greatest dancer that has ever lived," she said. "Wow," Amara said, filled with joy. "You can go now. Go and return in 7 days." As soon as Amara heard that, her legs became free again. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her from there. She wanted to run home, but then remembered her mother had sent her to the market, so she took the route that led to the market. As soon as she arrived at the market, she heard the town crier announce that the dance festival, in which the greatest dancer would be handsomely rewarded and get chosen by a wealthy suitor, was in 7 days. She became happy hearing that, because she already had hope. On the 7th day, Amara got up very early before the rooster crowed. She was on her way to the river when she met Dogo, the young man who had laid with the mermaid. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked with a hand on his waist. Amara stuttered, scratching her head. "What is a young girl like you doing out here so early?" he asked again. I'm going to the river to get water." "Yes, the river," she said, pointing towards it. Dogo stopped for a second and then looked at her from head to toe, bursting into laughter. "Going to the river? And how do you plan to get water, with your hands?" Amara said, stuttering. "If you know what is good for you, just get out of here this minute, unless you want to see that which is bigger than your age," he threatened. "Ah, no, please, let me run along. I forgot my water pot in the house, so let me go back and get it," Amara said, as she hurried out of there. But she refused to go home, even though he stood there watching her leave. She pretended as though she was leaving, then returned after like 2 minutes and hid behind a tree very close by to watch Dogo. "Let me see what he too is out here doing so early," she talked to herself. His hands were already raised into the air above his head. He was carrying a small pot, but Amara never knew what was inside it. "O goddess of Akara, I bring before you this name. I want to have his land and his wife. I love the location of the land so much, and I know that you shall grant my wish. I love his wife so much, and also wish to make her mine. I ask of you this day, O goddess of Akara, that you take Chukwuma, the son of Chinedu's wife. Let him not see the next market day." "Oh my," Amara said with shock, but quickly covered her mouth. The man Chukwuma was her mother's brother. The reason why Dogo wanted his land and his wife still remained a mystery to Amara. She was shocked to her bones, and at that point she didn't know whether to go tell her uncle or run straight to her mother to tell her, but she had her own mission before her. All of a sudden, she felt an ant sting on her right leg. She endured the first, second, and third stings, but the fourth sting made her hit her leg on the ground. Dogo, who was still there making his endless list of wishes, looked back quickly as soon as he heard a sound. He quickly dropped the pot on the ground and then started to follow where the sound came from. Amara ran away when he started to come closer without looking back. You, I saw you." She heard him cry out, but she continued running without looking back. When she was sure she had run far away from where he was, she decided to stop and rest under the shade of a tree. She started breathing heavily while her heart continued beating non-stop. She was there for like 10 minutes, wanting to be sure that Dogo had left before going to the river. Then she started to hear the sound of the drum. The dance festival had already begun. She remembered there was a back route to the river very close by, then looked left and right and decided to go through the bushes, not minding the danger. Before she knew it, she was finally on the back route leading to the river. As soon as she reached, she remembered she forgot to ask the mermaid the last time she came how she would call on them when she was around. She stood there for another hour, walking back and forth and confused about what to do. She picked up 2 tiny stones and threw them into the river, but she neither heard nor saw anything. The village drum was still beating, and by this time, young ladies must have gathered and started dancing. Hello, mermaids. Can you hear me?" She screamed, but she got no answer, then started to cry. She cried for another 15 minutes and then turned back to leave. "You do not cry here. It's forbidden," she heard all of a sudden from behind. It was the voice of an old hunter she had never seen before. "What are you here for, to get water or see the mermaids?" he asked. To see the mermaids," Amara said, shaking. "Pick up 6 stones and throw them into the river. They will appear to you," he said, and left. Amara thanked him, bowing her head, and stood there watching him until he was no longer in sight. She wiped her almost dried tears, picked up 6 stones, and threw them into the river, and the mermaids appeared right before her very eyes. "Welcome, beautiful young lady," she greeted with a smile, sitting on her golden chair as her golden crown sat perfectly on her head. "Here, take it. Now run, go there and show them how well you can dance now," she said, throwing one of her shiny waist beads before Amara, one of those beads she used to wear to dance in the village. Amara bent down and picked it up and started to stare at it as it hung so beautifully on her hand, with her mouth open and her eyes wide. "You gave me this?" she asked as a tear rolled down her cheek. She smiled and nodded. "Thank you," Amara said, and then she ran away, smiling without looking back. But she forgot to ask the mermaid if it would work at all times. As soon as Amara reached home, she hid the waist bead under her pillow. She quickly picked up a bucket, filled it up with water, and then rushed into the bathroom. She returned back into the room, opened her bag, and then brought out the traditional dress her mama had bought for her during her niece's wedding. It still looked so new and smelled so nice too. She tied one around her chest and the other around her waist. She carefully raised the pillow and then picked up the waist bead. She started to stare at it, taking another 2 minutes just loving it while smiling from ear to ear. She then put the waist bead on. She ran straight to her mother's room to tell her she was ready for the event, but couldn't find her in her room, so she ran out of there and headed for the festival ground. As soon as she reached, Ruka, her best friend, was the first person that came to her. She noticed the waist bead Amara had on immediately, pulled her to a corner, and then pointed at it. "That must be very expensive," Ruka said, staring at the waist bead. Then she raised her head and looked straight into Amara's eyes. "How did you get it?" she asked. "It's a gift," Amara said. "From who?" Ruka asked. "From—" Amara was about to say when Ruka was called upon. It was her turn to dance. "Excuse me," she said, and then left to dance. She danced so beautifully as usual and was chosen by a very handsome suitor. The crowd screamed in excitement as soon as Ruka was picked. The young man raised one of her hands and then walked her in circles. 6 more ladies danced before Amara, and it soon got to her turn. Ruka hurried to her and whispered into her ear. "Are you sure you can do this?" she asked. Amara sighed. "Yes, I can," she replied, but deep down she was so scared that her heart was nearly in her mouth. Ruka nodded. Amara's name was called upon. She didn't even know whether to march or dance onto the stage. She looked left. Some people had already put their fingers to their lips so they wouldn't end up laughing at her moves without knowing because they knew she couldn't dance. She looked right again. It was the same thing. "I hope this works," she talked to herself. "Shall I beat the drum now?" the village drum beater asked. Amara sighed again. "Yes," she said. Then he started to beat the drum. Amara couldn't even control her moves. She no longer had control over her legs and body as each part danced to the drum beats on its own. People were shocked as soon as she began to dance, while some of them started to whisper into each other's ears. Amara danced so well, more than every other young lady, and then she got chosen for the first time by the son of one of their chiefs, who was doing very well. She didn't even know that her mother was around. Her mother jumped into the crowd and started to praise her loudly. But how and when did she learn how to dance? Amara heard someone ask their friend, who was also standing right behind her waiting to perform, but she ignored them. Ruka hurried to Amara again, grabbed her hand, and then pulled her to a corner for the second time. "I'm so happy for you, Amara, from the bottom of my heart," she said with a hand on her chest. "But how and when did you learn how to dance? In fact, you're the best dancer in this year's festival. But tell me, I know that something isn't right," she added. "Okay, I'll tell you everything, but let's leave here first," Amara said. As soon as they were done from the festival, Ruka ran after Amara, asking her to tell her how she got the bead and how she also learned how to dance. "Don't worry, when you come to our house tomorrow, I shall tell you everything," Amara said. "Tomorrow? I'm coming with you to your house right away," Ruka said, and then they both burst out laughing. Amara became the talk on everyone's lips. Anyone who passed by them would always turn back to take a proper look at her as if she wasn't the same Amara they once knew. They arrived at Amara's house. She sat Ruka down and then told her everything, but Ruka became so scared instead. "I'm not comfortable with how you got this waist bead. Are you sure this doesn't have any bad results?" she asked. "No, it doesn't, because the mermaid didn't mention anything like that," Amara said. Okay," Ruka said. "Secondly, don't you think you should go apologize to Dogo?" Amara turned quickly to look at her. "The gods forbid. I did nothing to him that would need such—" "Okay," Ruka said, moving her head back and forth. That evening, the young man who had picked Amara at the festival came to her house to officially ask for her hand in marriage. Her mother was so happy that she danced for minutes non-stop, and he was told to return again in a few days with his people. 3 days later, Ruka came to Amara to borrow her waist bead so she could use it for an event. "Please be careful with it," Amara warned with a hand pulling down her earlobe. "I will," Ruka replied. Amara removed the waist bead and then gave it to her. Ruka wore it around her waist, and someone came knocking on Amara's door almost immediately. "Who is it?" Amara asked as she moved towards the door, but there was no answer. She opened the door and look and see, it was a palace guard. "Good day, the king wants you in the palace right away," he said, squeezing his face. Amara turned quickly to Ruka, who was already walking slowly towards them. "For what?" Ruka asked. "I was asked to bring you. When you get to the palace, you shall find out," he said. "Mama, Mama!" Amara called, but no answer. Ruka then went with her to the palace. As soon as Amara saw Dogo sitting on a chair, looking at her with angry eyes, her heart split into two. The king was seated with some elders of their land. Amara became so restless and shocked at the same time. "Good day, your highness. Good day, elders," they greeted on their knees. "Save your greetings," the king shouted. Amara was still standing there like a lost sheep, wondering what could be wrong. "On your knees," the king ordered, and she immediately knelt before him. "Dogo here said you used magic powers during the dance festival. You know what happens to people who use such powers here." "What?" Amara said with shock, with her mouth open. Her father once told her that anyone found using magic powers in her village stood a chance of being sent away. "How?" Ruka said with shock too. "You will have to repeat the dance here in the palace tomorrow morning," he said, pointing his horse whip towards Amara. Amara looked at Dogo, but he looked away. She had totally forgotten she caught him in the bush, wishing her uncle dead, so she hadn't told anyone about it, not even her mom. "Do I tell the king?" She talked to herself, and then she decided to let everyone know about it. As soon as she opened her mouth, Dogo looked at her, and she immediately choked on her saliva. She coughed for like 2 minutes, unable to say a word as she held her neck, and Ruka too started to pat her back. Sorry, she and some of the elders said, while some talked in whispers with the king. As soon as it got better a little, lock her up here in the palace in one of the empty rooms. Give her food to eat and water to drink till tomorrow morning, the king said to one of his guards. As soon as Amara entered the room, she remembered she had given the waist bead to Ruka, who was still standing with the elders and in tears when Amara was taken away. She begged the guard to help her call Ruka, that she had something to say to her, and he did. When Ruka came, the guard opened the window and left them alone. Amara looked left and right, looking through the window to make sure that no one else was around. "Ruka, the waist bead, please let me have it." "What waist bead? Did you give it to me?" Ruka said. "What?" Amara said with shock. "Ruka, please be serious. This is no time for such jokes," Amara begged. "I don't understand what you are saying. Yes, I came to you for the bead, but you were about to give it to me when there was a knock on the door, and then you went to check," Ruka explained. "Number I gave it to you, Ruka. You had already even worn it before the knock. I have limited time. Please, enough of the joke, because I'm not just in the mood for it," Amara said, desperation in her voice. "What are you saying, Amara?" "You never gave me the bead," Ruka said again, raising her hand halfway into the air. "I'm finished," Amara said, grabbing her hair so hard. "Your time is up," the guard said, coming towards them. Then he turned to Ruka. "Leave now," he ordered. Amara turned quickly to Ruka. "Ruka, please don't do this to me." "I swear I don't have it," she repeated. Amara stood there watching her leave, hoping she would turn back and tell her it was all a joke. But no, Ruka left, and then the guard shut the window right before Amara's face. Amara threw herself on the floor of the dark and empty room as hot tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm finished," she whispered to herself while crying. Some minutes later, she started to hear her mother's crying from far away. Her mother was finally brought to her, and then the window was opened. "Amara, what is going on? Is the rumor true?" her mother asked as she wiped her tears with the edge of her wrapper. "I know I haven't been a good mother. You are not a good dancer, but I never even cared or bothered to ask you how you finally learned how to and who taught you. Just like a good mother would do. Now the whole village is saying that you used magic powers, but I don't believe them. Please, my daughter, who even taught you, and how and when did you learn how to dance?" "I never used magic powers," Amara said while crying. "Yes, I believe you." "I know the rumor isn't true, but who taught you?" her mother asked, bursting into another round of tears. Amara stretched her hand out through the window and then placed it on her mother's shoulder. "Mama, I shall tell you everything, but please not now. It's not needed now. What I need you to do for me is for you to please beg Ruka to return that thing I gave to her very early tomorrow morning. That is the most important thing right now." "But what is that thing?" her mother asked. "Never mind, Mama. I'll tell you everything, but not now. If I don't get that thing with Ruka." "I'm afraid of what will happen," Amara said, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. "Then tell me what it is, please," her mother begged again. "Mama, not now." "Time up." The guard who had been standing beside the building finally came and said, "Please, just give me 5 more minutes," Amara's mother begged. "I'm sorry, your time is up," he repeated again. Okay, 2 minutes, even a minute," her mother begged, raising one of her fingers. But the guard shook his head in disagreement, shut the window, and then took her crying mother away. That night, one of the guards brought a local lamp and a plate of food into the room. As soon as he dropped them on the floor, he turned to Amara. "You didn't touch your lunch?" he asked, but she shook her head. "How about dinner?" "It's very hot. Try and eat it before it gets cold," he said. "I'm not hungry," Amara managed to say. "Are you sure?" he asked, staring at her. Amara looked at him and then looked away, because her heart was too heavy to tell him what he needed to hear. "Can I, have the plates of food?" he asked, rubbing both hands together and smiling so hard. "Since food is your own problem, you can go with them." "I don't have time for this," Amara said angrily. "Wow, thank you. May the gods allow you to remain here with us at least for some time," he said, still smiling while bending down to pick up the plates of food. "The gods forbid, it is you who will remain here forever," Amara said with anger. He was still smiling, carrying the plates of food as he left. That night, Amara couldn't even close her eyes. She nearly cried her eyes out. She sat there in the empty room thinking of her best friend, Ruka, and all seemed like a dream. Why would Ruka do this to me? What has come over her? She talked to herself as she stood up on her feet, walking slowly around the room. She finally sat down after some minutes with her head leaning on the wall. The following morning, as soon as the first rooster crowed, Amara's heart split into 2, and she began to shake in fear. She opened the window multiple times, even though it was still dark, to see if Ruka would sneak in with the waist bead. But she never did, and then Amara began to shiver. A few hours later, her mother was around, but they refused to let her see Amara. One of the guards finally opened up the room and then took Amara out into the waiting crowd. She looked around and then saw the king, the elders, her mother, and then Ruka. She continued staring at her, but Ruka couldn't look into her eyes. Amara began to shake in fear as the drumbeater finally asked his usual question. "Shall I begin?" Amara turned quickly to look at him, unable to answer his question. "Shall I begin?" he asked again, but she said nothing as hot tears rolled down. "Begin!" the waiting crowd shouted. He started to beat the drum, but Amara couldn't lift her legs, and then she looked at her mother, who signaled her to dance. She tried, even forced herself to dance, but she couldn't. The king ordered the drumbeater to stop, and as soon as he did, the crowd started to boo her, tapping their hands on their lips. Amara had never been so ashamed all her life. She raised her head and then looked at Ruka. "Thank you," she whispered, as tears gathered in her eyes, but Ruka only bowed her head. "You're hereby banished from our land," the king said, and then Amara fell on her knees. Her mother and Uncle Chukwuma hurried to her as her mother held her in her arms. Ruka stood with her hands before her and her head bowed, but couldn't come close. "Amara, what happened?" Uncle Chukwuma asked. Amara opened her mouth to say something and then saw Dogo staring at her from where he sat. She then swallowed whatever she had to say. She turned and looked at her mother. "Where's Baba?" "Is he okay?" she asked, but her mother sighed. "He's fine, but he refused to come," she revealed. "Ruka refused to give it to you?" Amara asked. "She said there's nothing with her." "But did you both have a fight?" her mother asked. Some of the guards then came and asked Amara to lead the way. She was finally going to be walked out of the village.
Please tell me, are you enjoying the story? If so, tell me what lessons have you actually learned? I would really love to hear your comments in the comment section down below. And remember to support this channel, please subscribe, like the video, comment, just say something, even a word could literally mean a whole lot. So I want you to tell me what lessons have you learned from this story. Trust me, these are situations that most people actually go through. I'm sure some of you that are watching this story have actually gone through this situation. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you dealt with a situation that you were faced with.
Please, let me have a word with her, Mama said while crying. A minute, one of the guards said, staring into the air. Mama then looked straight into Amara's eyes. Her eyes were already so red and swollen, she had cried too much. Amara, I know you're a very strong girl, and I strongly believe that one day there will be a ray of light in this darkness. There's no need asking you how that dance at the festival was made possible. Go straight to Ochi, your father's sister's place. I'm sure you know your way there. Amara nodded many times. Tell Nena, your auntie, the reason why you're there. I'm sure she'll take good care of you. I'll be coming to visit you from time to time. Go well, my dear daughter. May Ochi village favor you, her mum said with her shaking hand on Amara's head. Baba did not even come to visit me when I was locked up here, and he hasn't even shown up, Amara said, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. Let your father be for now. All will be well, Mama said, giving her a tight hug. Uncle Chukwuma, who had been standing with them, then came before Amara with a hand on her shoulder. I shall be coming to visit you too from time to time. I sure have that feeling that something is not right. But how come you danced so well during the festival? Did anybody teach you before that time? Uncle, that isn't needed now, but Uncle... Then Amara saw Dogo, who stood staring at her without blinking. Yes, talk to me, Amara, Uncle Chukwuma said. Uncle, Amara said, and stopped all of a sudden. She tried to tell him to be careful of Dogo when she suddenly choked on her saliva the second time and started to cough. Water, somebody please help me get water. Mama cried out, walking back and forth when the cough wouldn't stop, but there was no one to get water. It finally got better for Amara, and then one of the guards spoke out all of a sudden. It's time to go. Then some elders came out of the palace with palm leaves stuck in between their teeth. Lead the way to the boundary, an elder said to Amara. They were already standing in a straight line, waiting for her to lead them. All these shows for me. Amara talked to herself as Mama still held on to one of her hands so tight, not letting go. Lead the way, the elder repeated again. Mama, please let me go. Amara begged Mama, who wouldn't let go of her hand. She finally did after some seconds, and then Amara walked before them to be on the line. As soon as she did, Mama fainted. Amara left the line and hurried to her, and then she heard all of a sudden, "No, it is time to go." Amara looked at Mama, who was already in Uncle Chukwuma's arms, and then at the elders. She then went before the straight line again, and they walked slowly out of there while some villagers followed. Amara looked back. Mama still hadn't woken up, and then she looked at Ruka again, but Ruka immediately covered her face with her hands. They finally arrived at the boundary. Amara, know this. Anyone banished from this village will never ever return. Go now and don't look back, one of the elders said, and as soon as Amara crossed the boundary, some women came and swept off the prints of her feet from the soil of the village. Amara turned and looked back, not minding the warning, and then she continued to Ochi village to her Auntie Nena. Auntie Nena was outside with one of her daughters, Ebby, when she saw Amara from far away, and then she stood up all of a sudden, staring at her. Amara, is that you? She said, opening her eyes wide. Amara reached where they were in front of the house, and then she went down on her knees and greeted her. Amara, how is your father? Is your mother okay? She asked with curiosity while helping her up at the same time. They are fine, Auntie, Amara said, trying to control the tears already built up in her eyes. Amara, are you sure you're okay? Said Ebby. And Amara shook her head. Come inside, come tell me what's wrong, said Auntie Nena. They went in and they all sat down, and then Amara told them how she danced very well at the festival. Some people then went to tell the king that she'd used magic powers because they knew that normally she wouldn't have danced the way she did because she's not a good dancer. She also told them how the king later made her dance in the palace in everybody's presence. But she couldn't dance, and so she was banished for using magic powers. But did you use magic powers? Auntie Nena asked with eyes opened wide. Of course not. I never did, Amara answered. So how come you danced so well on the day of the dance festival, but were unable to dance when you were called? Is there anything you're not telling me? No, Auntie, there's nothing. I don't know how it happened too, Amara said. Ebby said aloud, folding her arms. If you're sure you're telling me the truth, you can stay here. But if there's anything you're not telling me, Amara, she said as she leaned her back on the chair, shaking her legs. The following day, Amara was inside the room Ebby and her sister Chidinma shared with her when Chidinma called her name all of a sudden. She was at the backyard. Amara rushed there to see what was going on, and then she met her standing with Ebby before an empty pot of water. Yes, Chidinma, you called me, Amara said. Yes, here is an empty pot of water. Can you please fill it up with water using magic powers? She said as they both started laughing loudly. Are you trying to make fun of me? Amara asked with a hand on her chest as tears built up in her eyes. But when they wouldn't stop laughing, she left their presence. Days went by, and Ebby and Chidinma wouldn't stop making fun of Amara at the smallest opportunity. Amara went to the backyard and then sat under a tree when Mama's thoughts suddenly crossed her mind. She cried because she had missed her so much, wondering if she was fine. I hope she's okay. Why hasn't she visited? Amara talked to herself with a hand on her jaw when she started to hear a voice like that of Baba. Finally, Baba has come to see me, Amara said, jumping up. She quickly wiped her tears with her wrapper as she hurried into the house. You, this cursed child, you can't continue to stay here in my sister's house because I don't want I and any family member of mine to have anything to do with you, he said angrily. Calm down, just calm down, Auntie Nena said many times while rubbing his chest. Don't you tell me to calm down. I'm sure she didn't tell you what she did. Amara used magic powers during the dance festival, Baba said angrily again. What? Auntie Nena said with shock and then turned to Amara. Did you lie to me? She asked, but Amara stood there like a tree, unable to say a word while tears kept flowing down. Well, I am sorry, Amara. I can't continue to keep a witch in my house because if these villagers get to find out, I'll be in trouble, she said, rubbing her hands together. Please, you need to leave my house now, she added. Amara took a few steps forward, turned and looked at Baba, wondering if he was truly her father. They watched her leave without saying a word. Where do I go from here? Amara kept thinking to herself when she suddenly remembered the river and the mermaid. But if she needed to see the mermaid, she would need to go back to their village, and she had been warned never to step foot there. How do I do this? Amara talked to herself with a finger on her lips. She was still on her way out of the village, thinking about the next thing to do, when she saw this mad man pass her by. At first, he was all cool and calm, but as soon as he passed, he started laughing very loudly. Amara turned and looked at him and was about to walk away. Your major problem is that you trust people so easily, he said, and began to laugh again. Amara looked back quickly as soon as he said that. He was right, but she ignored him without saying a word. If you haven't learned your lesson, then you're on your own, he added, and then began to dance. Amara opened her mouth to say something, but then remembered he was a mad man. She stood there for a few minutes. People passing by thought that she was enjoying his show, but she was actually in very deep thought. Then she finally decided to leave. She walked for 3 hours because she took the back road leading to their village. She was thirsty and very hungry at the same time, but she dared not go into anyone's house to beg for either food or water, so as not to put herself and her family members into trouble. She then saw a mango tree with very ripe mangoes from where she stood, and she hurried there to pick a few mangoes to eat. She picked the first one from the ground, and she attacked it like one who hadn't eaten in days. She was about to pick the second one when she heard a voice from behind all of a sudden. Are my eyes lying to me? He said, and then Amara turned quickly. It was Emeka, Dogo's friend. Amara was thrown into confusion, and she stood still, thinking of what to say. Amara, he said with shock. Amara the magician, he called with his mouth open, but Amara ignored him and started to look around. Don't even try that, which is running through your mind. If you try to run away, I will split you into two, like a piece of wood with this machete. I thought you were warned never to return, he said, raising the machete in his hand. Please allow me to go away from here. I know I am on your soil, but I promise I won't step foot into the village. Well, if I must let you go, I'm sure you know what to do, he said, rubbing his chin and licking his lips. No, I don't. What do I need to do? Amara asked. Simple. Just lie on your back and spread your legs. Let me explore your world," he said, smiling as he threw down his machete. "The gods forbid, I will never do that," Amara said, and then she turned to leave. But he pulled her back and tried forcing himself on her. "Help! Somebody, help!" Amara started to scream. "Even if you scream from now till tomorrow, we're the only ones in this forest," he said, still trying to force himself on her. "What are you trying to do? Let her go." They heard, all of a sudden, and then Amara turned quickly to see the savior the gods had sent her way. Look and see, it was the old hunter she met at the river who told her what to do if she wanted to see the mermaids. Emeka moved back immediately and then picked up his machete. "Who are you?" he asked as he held his machete firmly. The old hunter too got his gun ready and then pointed it at him. "If you don't get out of here this minute, I'll blow off your head," he threatened. "I'm not afraid of you. I'm only leaving because I respect your old age," Emeka said as he turned to leave. "Thank you, Baba," Amara said, bowing her head. "I don't want to ask you where you're headed or where you're coming from, but this place isn't safe for a young girl of your age," the old hunter said, as he still held on to his gun. Amara nodded many times. He left, and then Amara ran as she ran straight towards the river, a journey which took her like an hour and 30 minutes because she missed her way multiple times because she wasn't too familiar with the back road. Amara stopped running as soon as she arrived at the river. She fell on her knees, breathing heavily, then decided to rest for a few minutes. As soon as she was done resting, she picked up 6 stones by the river and then threw the first one into the river, then the second and the third. As soon as she picked up the 4th stone, she started to hear voices. "There she is! There she is!" Amara heard from far away. She looked closely. Look and see, it was the palace guards. Amara quickly threw the 4th and the 5th stone. "Stop it! Stop that or I'll shoot you," one of them threatened. "Stop her! She's trying to call the mermaids. Shoot," another said. Hearing that, Amara threw the 6th stone, and then, all of a sudden, she heard a gunshot. After the gunshot, Amara found herself in another place, another world, and to top it all, she was in water. But she was breathing fine rather than drowning. She was standing upright alone in a room without support or holding her nose. She started to shiver. She was so scared. She looked around again, and the only thing she could see was herself in an empty room filled with water and a door by the left. "Where am I?" Amara said as her eyes ran through the room, and then she looked into the water with a finger on her cheek. "The guards came after me while I was by the river, and then..." Her jaw dropped as soon as she remembered she had heard a gunshot. "Oh my! I'm dead," Amara said with shock, running her eyes through the room over again as she broke down in tears. "Mama, how would Mama take the news of my death if they go back to tell her I had been shot and killed?" Amara said to herself as she continued crying, but no single tear dropped. She raised her left leg to see if she would be able to walk without support and if she would slip and fall, but no. It felt as though she was on the earth, and then she lifted her right leg, staring into the water at the same time, and slowly she walked towards the door. She slowly stretched out her arm and then held the door handle and twisted it open. The door came open. She froze as soon as it did, taking a step backward, and then she asked herself again, "Where am I?" She moved towards the door again and looked through the small opening. "Come, beautiful young lady," Amara heard all of a sudden, a voice which got her startled, and then she pulled back her face immediately. "Don't be afraid. Come to me," she heard again. Could this be the voice of the gods? Amara talked to herself as she remembered she had called the mermaids. "The mermaid world?" Amara said with shock, with a hand over her lips as her eyes opened wide. She looked through the space again to see whose voice it was, and then she saw the mermaid lady seated on a golden chair in another room. "You? How did I get here?" Amara asked with curiosity. "Well, you were going to be shot, but it was a near miss. I carried you as soon as the 6th stone landed in the river, and then we disappeared together, and here you are," the mermaid lady said. "You saved me," Amara said, and she nodded, smiling widely. "Thank you, I'm grateful," Amara said. "You're welcome, feel at home, welcome to the mermaid world," she said, smiling from ear to ear. And then Amara nodded, she got up. That was the first time Amara saw her closely. from her waist down, looked like the tail of a fish, but it had very beautiful designs and was as shiny as light. Her skin, too, was so fresh and silky, and the length of her shiny hair almost touched the back of her legs. "You're so beautiful," Amara said. "Thank you," she said, smiling and showing perfectly arranged teeth. "Come with me," she said as she moved to open the door. They stepped out together as soon as she did. And look, the most beautiful sight Amara had ever seen in her life. All the buildings were in gold, with doors as shiny as diamond. Amara's jaw immediately dropped in amazement, and she didn't even know when she said the word, "Wow." Mermaids, both old and young, with different colors of clothes, came out as they bowed their heads before her. Amara had never heard about male mermaids before. She saw them with her very eyes. "You seem to be their queen," Amara asked her in a whisper. "You're right," she answered. She introduced Amara to them, and Amara was given a warm welcome. She then took Amara into a very big hall, decorated with different colors of balloons and pearls, with gold tables and chairs. "Wow," Amara said with shock, looking around in love. "Sit," she showed her. "What would you like to eat? Do you have a favorite?" she asked. Amara was still busy loving the whole place with her mouth open. "Hello," the mermaid queen said all of a sudden. Sorry, this place is just too beautiful," Amara said. "You can say that again. I was asking you if you have any favorite food." "Oh, food. No, I don't. I eat any meal that's tasty," Amara said, smiling. "Okay," she said, and then she ran her hand in circles 3 times before Amara, and different varieties of food appeared immediately. "Eat," she said, pointing at them. Amara's eyes immediately opened wide. She saw a plate of bushmeat. She got up and picked it up, and then started to eat it hungrily, while the plate was still sitting in her hand, without sitting down. Amara was later taken to a room. Her room, like the queen called it, it was too beautiful. She was going to sit on the bare floor with her eyes fixed to the glass roof, when the mermaid queen pointed at a gold-colored chair and asked her to sit on it. The following day, very early, she called Amara into her room and asked her to sit. "Welcome. How are you enjoying your stay here?" she asked, staring at Amara. "Very well. I love it so much here," Amara said with a smile. "Would you like to become one of us?" "I would love to, but," Amara said, and the queen cut in. "Your mother?" Amara nodded many times. "Your mother has been fine without you, and very soon she will get used to your absence. You want to go back into that cruel world, a world of hate and jealousy. They chased you out to die, remember? If you go back now, where would you stay? Why don't you stay here where almost everything is possible?" A very handsome, tall and fair young man said from behind all of a sudden. Amara turned quickly to see him. "That's my son. His name is Seraph," the queen said, pointing at him. "You have a son as grown as him?" Amara asked in disbelief. The queen smiled. "Oh yes. As a matter of fact, I'm 120 years old. We do not age here in our world," she said. "Wow," Amara said. The young man then came closer with a hand stretched out for a handshake. "So, would you like to become one of us?" he asked. And Amara nodded, smiling. 2 days later, Amara was initiated and became a mermaid with a pinkish tail, and was told that she would be there permanently for 3 months. After then, she would decide if she either wanted to continue staying or go back to her world. She had everything at her beck and call: respect, food, and of course, love. Seraph and Amara started dating, and she must confess, he was the nicest and most wonderful man she had ever met. "Promise me you will never return to your home?" he asked one day on a cool evening. "I promise," Amara said, looking into his eyes. 4 days later, Amara was asleep and she suddenly jumped up. "Mama," she said with shock. She hurried out of bed and then rushed into the Queen Mermaid's room. "Are you okay?" she asked as soon as she saw Amara. "My mother," Amara said again, while tears built up in her eyes. "Please, I'd like to see my mother. Is it possible?" Amara asked. The queen sighed. "I'm not returning home. I would just like to see her," Amara repeated. "Come back tomorrow morning," she said. Amara went back to her the following morning, and then she gave her a mirror. She was told that each time she wanted to see anything or anyone, she should just call their names, and the mirror would show her wherever they were and whatever they were doing. Amara hurried into her room and then held the mirror before her. "Please, show me Mama, my mother," she said to it. And before she knew what was happening, she saw Mama, but she was heartbroken at the condition in which she saw her. Mama was seated by the river, crying and singing Amara's favorite song. "Oh no," Amara said with shock as soon as she saw her. She was devastated. She dropped the mirror and then she sat on a chair, thinking about what Mama must have gone through following her absence. "Mama must be thinking that I died," Amara said to herself. "What do I do now?" she asked herself with a finger on her cheek. Amara rushed out of the room and headed straight to the Queen Mermaid's chamber. She went on her knees as soon as she saw her. "You know, whenever I see your face this way, I know that all is not well," the Queen said, moving her tail as she came closer. "Now tell me, what is it this time?" she asked as soon as she did, with a hand placed on Amara's shoulder. Amara looked up straight into her eyes. "I know you have a caring heart and the heart of a mother. Please, I beg of you to grant me this favor." "Rise and sit," she said, pointing at a chair close by. Amara rose on her feet immediately and then sat on a chair without leaning her back. "Come on, relax yourself and tell me whatever the problem is," she said, still standing before Amara. It's about my mother. I don't know if it's possible for me to see her," Amara said with teary eyes. "I do not understand. You are supposed to stay here permanently for 3 months, remember? After which you will then decide either to remain here with us or go back to your world." "I know. Please, I know you can do this for me. I just want to see her and talk to her. That's me breaking the rules of this kingdom." "What you're asking of me is quite difficult, I must say," she said, and then the door came open. It was Seraph. "What is going on here?" he asked, seeing Amara's face because it was clearly written that all wasn't well. "It's Amara. She wants to go back to her world to see her mother." "What?" I thought Seraph was going to say something, but Amara cut in. "I'm not leaving you or this kingdom. I just want to see my mother. Look, I saw her through the mirror the Queen Mermaid gave to me, and she's by the river crying her eyes out as we speak." "So what exactly do you want the Queen Mermaid to do for you?" Seraph asked, staring at Amara. "To see and talk to her," Amara said, adjusting herself on the chair she sat on. Seraph turned to his mother. "Mother is what she wishes for possible. You know the rules, Seraph. I'm the queen of this kingdom, and you know what happens when any rule is broken." "I wish I could, but this is beyond me," she said. "I have an idea. What if we change her identity so no mermaid would be able to recognize her once they see her?" said Seraph. "What? What if they see the new her around the river, or in the river after her identity must have been changed? We all know each other, remember?" the Queen Mermaid said, moving her tail as she made her way to her chair and then sat on it. "Mother, it is not a sin or forbidden for another mermaid to be seen around this place. Everyone would think maybe she came from another river, you know," Seraph said, and at that point Amara looked at him with a smile. "Just my kind of man," she thought to herself. "You know, after full change into a different body again, she can decide to even pay her mother a visit from time to time, and no one would know she's the same Amara that was banished," he said again, looking at Amara with a wink. Amara rushed up from where she sat and then gave him a tight hug. "For this, you have a special place in my heart," she whispered. "Okay, lovebirds, agreed," the Queen Mermaid said. "So how would you want the human change?" she asked with a hand rubbing the arm of her chair. Amara said, and then turned to look at Seraph, but he only nodded, smiling widely. "I want to change into a very beautiful young lady with long hair, silky skin, and a broad waist. So when I wear waist beads, they would just sit perfectly like yours did when you used to come into our village, and to become a very good dancer." "And?" Amara said, turning her face aside. "And?" the Queen Mermaid asked. "I would like to use the new me to get justice for my old self. I need to revisit those who betrayed me," Amara said, turning to her. "Done," she said. "Thank you, I'm grateful," Amara said with a smile and a bowed head. "After your change, you must not look into the mirror when you are in your world, but you can do so here once you return. And the most important thing, you must not pass a night in your world. Always return to us as soon as it is dusk," she said with a finger raised in the air. Amara nodded many times. "Grant her wish," she said all of a sudden, and before Amara knew it, she changed into a totally different mermaid, looking so amazing in her new body. "Wow," Seraph and Amara said with shock as soon as she changed. "Go now. When you get to the shore, just run a hand over your head in circles 3 times. You will change form into a different human. Repeat the same thing when you want to return here and be changed back into a mermaid, the Queen Mermaid said. Oh, I'm grateful, Amara said in excitement. She held Siraf in a tight hug and then whispered into his right ear. Thank you. You're welcome, he whispered back and then held her both hands. Don't be late, he added. I won't, Amara said. Go now, Siraf said. Amara hurried out of there as fast as she could. She was overjoyed and couldn't wait to see Mama again. Even though she wouldn't know Amara was her little girl, at least seeing her would heal some of their wounds. As soon as Amara arrived at the shore, she ran a hand over her head 3 times, and then she changed into a very beautiful young lady. Mama was still around. Amara could hear her cry from where she stood. She walked towards her and then stopped as soon as she saw her. Mama was seated on the ground by the river with a hand on her jaw. Tears built up in Amara's eyes immediately, but she had to quickly wipe them away and then continued to where Mama sat. Mama, Amara called. Mama turned quickly. Good day, Mama, Amara greeted, bending her knees. Good day, beautiful young lady, Mama responded, turning her face towards Amara and then turning back as soon as she did. Amara was heartbroken, seeing how Mama looked. She looked so thin and pale and sick. Mama, are you okay? You have been here for a while now. I hope everything is okay, Amara asked. How come you know I have been here for a while? Mama asked, looking into Amara's eyes, but Amara quickly turned her face aside. Do I know you? Are you from this village? Mama asked. Yeah, no. I'm from the neighboring village. I have been sitting over there for a while now, enjoying your song. So I decided to come close, Amara said. Really? Mama asked, wiping her tears with the back of her hands, and then Amara squatted before her with a hand on her shoulder. Mama, are you okay? I'm sorry to ask, but may I know why you're crying? Amara asked as tears filled her eyes again, but she controlled them from pouring out. Mama smiled, a smile Amara had missed so much. I am not okay, she said, and then burst into tears. May I know what's wrong? Amara asked again. My daughter, I miss her so much, Mama said, wiping her tears with the edge of her wrapper. Where is she? What happened to her? She's dead. She was shot right here by the palace guards, but her body was never found. They said she fell into the water as soon as she was shot. I miss her so much. She was the best thing that had ever happened to me. At that point, Amara could no longer control her tears. She cried along with Mama. They said she used magic during the dance festival and was then banished because of that. But I don't believe she did use magic, even though she refused to tell me how she was able to dance during the festival, but unable to dance at the palace when she was called to redo the dance so they could find out if she truly used magic or not. Not being a good dancer. Mama looked up all of a sudden and then looked straight into Amara's eyes. I know this feeling. My instincts never lie. Who really are you? She said, and then gripped Amara's hands. Who are you? What is your name and where are you from? Amara started to sweat heavily, turning her head left and right, just to buy more time so she could think of what to say to Mama. Where are you from? Mama asked again. Like I said before, I'm from the neighboring village. My name is Mona, Amara said, with her eyes looking aside. Your name is Mona? Mama asked, and then she opened Amara's hands and started to look into them. Your hands, just as soft as that of Amara, my daughter, she said, touching them gently. There's something about you that I can't really say, but I feel as though I have met you before. Mama, that is because you have missed your daughter so much. Don't you think it is time for you to go home and rest? You have been here for too long, Amara said to her, trying to control her tears. You know, I come here every 3 days just to sing her favorite song. I'm no longer the happy, strong, and active woman that I used to be. My daughter's absence is killing me slowly by the day, Mama said with her eyes fixed to the river. Then she turned to Amara. I wish that her body was brought back so I could at least bury her myself. But do you think she's dead? I have this feeling that she's still alive. But somewhere... Mama, it's time for you to go home, Amara cut in. Mama let out a deep sigh. You are right. It is time for me to go home, she said, struggling to stand on her feet. Amara quickly helped her up. "Thank you," Mama said with a smile. "Don't you think it is time for you to go home too?" she asked. "Yes, I will, but can I walk you a little?" Amara asked, smiling and with her hands behind her back. "You want to walk me home?" Mama asked, smiling back. "No, I mean I would like to walk you. Please walk me home. As you can see, I'm sick and might need support along the bushy path. I have been coming alone all this while. But what if something happens to me on my way home today being alone? Maybe fall and die or something?" she asked, still smiling. "The gods forbid." "Mama, you're not dying now. You still have more years ahead of you," Amara said, snapping her fingers. Mama's words really broke her and left her convinced at the same time. Mama shook her head. "Okay, I shall walk you home," Amara said. She held one of Mama's hands as they both walked through the bush path together. Mama told her all sorts of stories, same stories she had once told Amara as a little girl. But Amara enjoyed every bit of it. As soon as they arrived home, Mama sat on a stool under a tree right in front of the house, and then Amara hurried beside the house to pick another stool to sit on. As soon as she dropped it, she remembered her change and how she was supposed to pretend and act like a total stranger. "Oh my," Amara whispered to herself. "But how did you know there was a stool beside the house?" Mama asked, staring at her. Amara was shocked as soon as she heard that and became so uneasy. "The stool," Amara said, pretending to smile. "I just thought to check beside the house, maybe I would find one," she said. Mama smiled and then nodded her head. Amara was with Mama for a few hours. She helped her do some housework, and when she was about to leave, Baba returned. "Good day, Baba," Amara greeted, bowing her head and bending her knees. He looked up and couldn't take his eyes off her. "Welcome. How did your outing go?" Mama said, snapping Baba out of his daze. "Oh, fine," he replied with his eyes off Amara. "Who is this one that's just as beautiful as a mermaid?" he asked. Amara's heart split into two as soon as she heard that, and then she stood there like a statue with her head bowed. "Yes, she's indeed beautiful," Mama responded with a smile. "She's my friend. She's from the neighboring village," she added. "Young lady, you're welcome," Baba said, and then he excused them. "Mama, like I said, it's time for me to go home now. Why not stay with me a little?" Mama asked. "Maybe some other time," Amara said. "You know, ever since my daughter disappeared and my brother Chukwuma died, I don't really have anyone to keep me company. My husband only goes out and comes in and doesn't really bother about me." "What? Your brother is dead?" Amara asked, opening her eyes wide, and then she remembered she was supposed to pretend. "I mean, you lost a brother." "Oh yes, his name was Chukwuma," Mama said. "What happened?" Amara asked. "Who knows? The gods called him home," Mama said. At that point, Amara felt really bad because it was something that could have been stopped. But being unable to tell anyone what she had heard and seen really got her so heartbroken. She was lost in thoughts when Mama suddenly spoke. "Are you okay?" "Oh yes, I'm fine. I have to be on my way now," Amara said. "Thank you so much. Hope to see you some other time." "Sure," Amara responded. She kept looking back. Mama wouldn't stop smiling and waving at her. Amara wished to spend at least a night with her, but if only wishes were horses. On her way out of the village, guess who she saw? It was Ruka coming into the village with beads tied round her ankle. As soon as she came close, Amara noticed she was wearing the bead, the same bead she denied Amara never gave to her. "Good day," Amara greeted as soon as Ruka passed. "Good day," Ruka replied. Ruka stopped as soon as she heard that. "Your waist bead." "It's beautiful," Amara said. "Thank you," Ruka greeted with a smile. "Where did you get it?" "I mean, I would like to have something like this," Amara said. "Oh, this," Ruka said, bowing her head to take a proper look as if she had just put it on. "It's a gift from my grandmother." "Yes," she said, pretending to smile. "Really?" Amara said with shock, and then Ruka nodded. "Well, my name is Mona. I'm from the neighboring village." "I'm Ruka. I'm from this village and I'm a professional dancer. So feel free to call on me whenever you have an event," she said, smiling. "Very well then. I'll take my leave now," Amara said. And as soon as she turned to leave, she saw Dogo coming from a bush path. "Wow, the almighty Dogo," Amara said to herself. "Meet my husband," Ruka said as soon as he came closer. Amara was shocked upon hearing that as her heart broke into tiny pieces. "Your husband?" Amara asked. "Yes," Ruka said, nodding her head and smiling at the same time. "Good day," Amara said to him, raising her hand halfway. He looked at Amara from head to toe and then at his wife. "Who is she?" he asked Ruka, then turned to Amara, almost smiling. "Are you from this village? You look as shiny as the sun. Your husband must be very lucky." Amara looked at Ruka as soon as he said that. Ruka immediately started scratching the back of her neck, and from her facial expression, one could tell that she had become very uncomfortable. Then Ruka laughed, pretending to smile. "We'll take our leave now," she said, pulling Dogo by the hand. "Okay, see you some other time," Amara said, waving at them. After taking a few steps away, Amara turned and saw Dogo still staring at her, even though they were both walking home together. She quickly turned her face away. Ruka and Dogo, Amara thought to herself. This world is indeed a very wicked place. Who would have thought that Ruka, who used to dislike anything concerning Dogo, would later end up marrying him? She stopped with a hand on her waist and another on her chin. Everything seemed like a dream to her. But why would Ruka of all people, the Ruka I loved and trusted so much, be the one to do this to me? What did I ever do to her? What if I had truly died? Ruka would just move on just like that, as if nothing happened. Hell no, we are in this together, Amara said to herself and then continued to the river. As soon as she arrived at the river, Amara stopped for a few seconds as her eyes ran immediately through the bushes to make sure there was nobody around. She raised her hand and then ran it over her head in circles 3 times with her legs already inside the river, and then she changed form into the new mermaid. Amara swam straight to the Queen Mermaid's chamber to thank her for what she had done. She went on her knees as soon as she saw her. "Thank you so much for everything," Amara said with a smile as she bowed her head. "Rise," the Queen Mermaid said. "How is your mother?" "She is fine, even though she is no longer as strong and active as she used to be." "It is well," the Queen Mermaid said. "Please excuse me, I need to go see Seraph," Amara requested. "You're excused," the Queen Mermaid replied, smiling from ear to ear. Amara left and headed straight to Seraph's chamber. He stood in the middle of the room, backing the entrance, and then she opened the door and entered. "Welcome, the fairest of them all," Seraph said. Amara became shocked, and then he turned. "How did you know I was here?" she asked. "It's a matter of the heart," he said, tapping his chest. "How is your mother?" "She's fine, but devastated. You know one thing that surprises me? She doesn't believe I died. Like she still has that feeling that I am alive, but somewhere. Blood is thicker than water, they say." "That's a true mother for you," Seraph replied. Then he came closer with a smile. "How do you find your new body? Do you like it?" he asked, smiling from ear to ear. Amara nodded many times. "Yes, of course. Thank you so much for helping to convince the Queen Mermaid earlier." "My pleasure," he said, and then held her arm. "You know, I keep having that feeling that you would one day wake up and say you want to go back there to stay. I cannot go back there to stay among those people that once rejected me and chased me out to die. I cannot go back there to continue to see the face of the one whom I once called my best friend. There's too much hatred and jealousy over there," Amara replied. "For your mother?" Seraph asked again, this time looking into her eyes. "Oh yes, Mama," Amara said, withdrawing her hand from his with her face turned aside. "Of course I cannot go back there, but I will be visiting her from time to keep her company so she wouldn't feel too lonely." Seraph nodded. "Shall we take a stroll? Let me show you some places you have never been to." "Okay," Amara said, smiling. Amara continued her new life as a mermaid, but she never let a day pass without looking into the mirror the Queen Mermaid had given her to check on her mother. Sometimes she would see her mother asleep, other times sitting under the tree before the house with a hand on her jaw, and sometimes by the river. Amara didn't want to visit her often to avoid raising suspicion. One day, as Amara checked on her mother through the mirror again, she saw her lying in her room alone and shivering. What? Could she be sick? Amara said to herself, dropping the mirror immediately. She swam to the Queen Mermaid to ask for permission to visit her mother, and the Queen agreed. Amara went to Seraph's chamber to tell him, but he wasn't around, so she swam quickly to the shore and then ran a hand over her head, changing form. On her way to the village along the bush path, Amara saw a middle-aged woman carrying a boy of about 3 years on her back. After they exchanged greetings, Amara was about to go on her way when the boy spoke. "Mama, sea mermaid," he said, pointing at Amara. Amara was stunned and then walked faster, unable to look back. "Keep quiet, she's not a mermaid," Amara heard the mother say from far away. She ran to her mother's place and found her still in the room, shivering. Amara stood by the entrance. "Good day, Mama," she greeted. Her mother managed to turn, and as soon as she saw Amara, she smiled. "I knew you were going to come around today," she said, but Amara only smiled back. Amara went and sat close to her mother. "Mama, are you okay?" Her mother sighed. "I am not okay. My bones are aching so badly, and I feel very feverish." "But what about Baba?" Amara asked. Her mother looked at her. "Your voice, it reminds me so much of that of Amara." She stopped. "I haven't seen him since he left this morning." "Mama, I'm sorry if I'm a constant reminder of Amara, your daughter," Amara said. "You're sorry, for what?" her mother said, and then struggled to sit up. Amara rushed and assisted her. Her mother raised her right hand and then her left hand. "You see, I feel quite better now that you're around." "Wow, the gods be praised," Amara responded. "So tell me, who is your father in the neighboring village?" her mother asked. "How many siblings do you have?" she added. "Well, it's just me in this world now, because my grandmother who brought me up is no more," Amara said, avoiding eye contact. "I'm sorry about that," her mother said. Amara noticed some rashes on her mother's face and then moved closer to her, calling her attention to it. "You have some rashes on your face," she said, pointing at her mother's face. "Oh yes, it's caused by fever. It usually comes out each time I'm down with fever," her mother said, touching her face. Amara later assisted her outside and they went to sit under the tree. She made a pot of soup for her mother. As soon as her mother tasted it, she stopped and then looked up straight into Amara's eyes. Amara was standing right before her. "How come?" her mother asked with her index finger suspended in the air. "What is that, Mama? You don't like the taste of the soup?" Amara asked. "No, not that." "Never mind," her mother said, now staring into the soup. About an hour later, Amara was doing her mother's laundry and then passed by her where she sat without noticing what was in her right hand. Suddenly, Amara turned and caught her mother staring at her. She was holding a mirror. "Amara," her mother said with shock. Amara looked left and right and then turned to her mother again. "What? What did you say?" Amara asked, her heart starting to beat faster. "Amara, I know it's you," her mother said again. Amara became very uncomfortable and started to shake in fear. "Do not hide yourself from me. I'm your mother," her mother added. It's not Amara," Amara said, stuttering. "I carried you in my womb for 9 good months, and I alone can tell if it's you or not," her mother said, smiling. Amara started shivering and thinking about whether to tell her the whole truth or not. "No, it's not necessary," she thought to herself. "Do not keep the truth away from me, Amara. Just tell me the truth and I'll understand," her mother repeated. "Mama, I think you're mistaking me for her. My name is Mona, remember?" Amara said, pretending to smile. Her mother shook her head. "You are Amara. You cannot hide yourself from me. If I'm telling a lie, take this mirror from me and look at it," she said, pointing the mirror towards Amara. Amara turned and looked away suddenly, and her fear increased. "Look into my eyes and tell me you're not Amara," her mother said. "Mama, I must take my leave now," Amara stuttered. "You want to leave me to where?" her mother asked with teary eyes. "What happened to you? Is it that you don't even love me? Why are you hiding from me, Amara? This new body of yours, how and from where did you get it? Oh, you want to leave me alone to die childless? I'm alone here, as you can see. If you go back to wherever you came from now, I would be left alone here," she said, while tears dropped down her cheeks. "Take this mirror. Prove to me that you're not Amara by looking at it." Amara's whole body began to shake, and then she started sweating heavily. She didn't even know what else to do, as tears made their way freely down her face. She stood there and for the first time looked straight into her mother's eyes. "Mama," Amara called. "I knew it. My instincts never lie," her mother said, jumping up and then holding Amara in a very tight embrace. "Tell me this last time that you're not Amara and I will believe you," her mother said, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. I am, Amara said. But what happened to you? I need to know everything, her mother said. Mama, it's a long story, Amara said while crying. Come, let's sit. Come tell me everything, her mother said, pulling one of Amara's arms. Amara then sat on a stool before her mother and revealed everything that had happened before and after her banishment. She told her about her encounter with Dogo, Ruka's betrayal, her becoming a mermaid, her life underwater, and her visits to the village. What? The same Ruka? Her mother said with shock. Amara nodded. You're now a mermaid? Her mother asked, running her eyes over Amara's body. Yes, Amara said. The gods forbid, you are not part of them, and the earlier you let them know this, the better, her mother said with eyes opened wide. Mama, you won't understand. I cannot leave, it's too late to do so, Amara said. Really? You cannot leave them, so you prefer them over me? Her mother asked, hurt evident in her voice. No, Mama, that's not what I mean. I have made unbroken promises to them already, Amara explained. There's no promise that can't be broken. Get up, let us go to Achaya the spiritualist. I'm sure he knows exactly what to do when we reach, her mother said, standing on her feet immediately and retying her wrapper. Mama, no please, this is beyond me. The Queen Mermaid has been of help to me, and I wouldn't want to pay her back this way, Amara begged. Never, her mother said with shock. I will never agree to that. What about me? What then happens to me? She asked. Amara hesitated, then said softly, Mama, I'm sorry. I'm already pregnant for the Queen Mermaid's son. What? Her mother said with shock again, this time with hands on her head. I'm finished. You're pregnant for a mummy water. She started to walk back and forth. Whom do I call upon? Whom do I tell? She asked herself without expecting an answer. And at that point, Amara's heart melted. Mama, please calm down. Try to understand me, Amara said, placing a hand on her mother's shoulder. Her mother turned to her, anger flashing in her eyes. Don't tell me to calm down. This is all your fault. If you had told me about the waist bead the very day you were given it, all these wouldn't have happened. She stopped, then continued. Now, Ruka is going about her activities with the waist bead as if nothing happened. Do you know she now goes about dancing at different events and gets paid handsomely? And if only you had said something about Dogo, maybe your uncle Chukwuma would still be alive, she cried. Do you know after his death he held his wife spiritually in his house for some days and was planning to lay with her? Thank the gods, her father is also a spiritualist, and so he managed to save her. She continued between sobs. Amara listened, her heart heavy with the weight of all that had happened. As her mother continued to speak, revealing more about the events in the village since Amara's banishment, including Dogo's misdeeds and Ruka's rise to fame, Amara realized how much had changed. She knew then that she had to face the consequences of her choices and find a way to right the wrongs that had been done. Later that day, Amara managed to convince her mother that she had to leave and be back to her room in the Mermaid Kingdom before midnight. Otherwise, there shall be consequences. All right, my daughter, I'll let you go, but promise you shall return to visit, she begged while holding her hands. I promise, Mama, I will from time to time, she assured her mother. At least eat something before you go. Let me just quickly prepare your favorite meal for you, the mother said. No, Mama, don't worry, please. You're not too strong and it's getting too dark. I don't want to get back too late, Amara said worriedly. Amara, please, let me do this as a gift from a mother to her child. Or is it that you now prefer food from the mummy water than my own? She asked sadly. No, Mama, it's not like that. Okay, no problem. I will eat what you prepare. An hour later, after her mother had prepared the meal and she had eaten, she fell into a deep sleep. Later on, Amara woke up in the arms of Siraf, swimming towards the kingdom underwater. What's happening? She asked. Shh, don't speak, Siraf said with shock. On hearing his voice, she wondered how he was here and how come she fell asleep like that. Siraf, please tell me what's happening, she said again, but he gave her the same response like the first time. He took her to her room and placed her on the bed. You know, the consequences of staying this late, if I had not been there on time, you would have stayed past midnight, he asked. Yes, I'm aware. Believe me, it was not my intention to stay this late. Mama begged and insisted I eat her food, and I couldn't refuse. After eating, I can't remember what happened next. She must have put something in my food. Please forgive me, Amara begged. It's fine. You're just lucky the Queen Mermaid didn't find out. I'm off to my chambers. We shall talk tomorrow, he said and left. She could not even close her eyes that night. She was lying down and thinking of what excuse to give to the Queen Mermaid if she asks her why she arrived late. As soon as it was dawn, the Queen Mother sent for her. Good day to you, she said with her head bowed as soon as she met the Queen. Good day. I sent one of the mermaids to call you last night, but I was told you weren't in your room, she said. Then Siraf walked in on them. She was in my chamber till midnight, Mother, he said. The Queen smiled and then shook her head. Amara became so nervous that she couldn't even look up because of the lie that Siraf had told on her behalf. Her heart started to pound real hard. Very well then, just be very, very careful, she said, looking at Amara. She nodded many times. Later that day, she was with Siraf when he brought it up again. Did you by any chance tell your mother who you really are? He asked. No, not at all, she said with her face turned. I hope so, he said. She refused to visit Mama for days. She was scared so she wouldn't end up doing worse things now that she knows her secrets. She was relaxing very close to Siraf's chamber one day when she suddenly began hearing faint sounds coming from above the water. What's going on? She asked herself, and then swam from where she was to go find out what was going on. She was still on her way when she met this mermaid swimming in from above the water. Hello, she said. The mermaid stopped. Hi, you're new here, I guess. You look so beautiful, she said, smiling widely. Oh yes, thank you so much. My name is Mona. I'm Chinello, they both introduced themselves. Please, what's going on up there? I can hear sounds of music, she asked. Oh, that? It's actually coming from the village. I heard their king's son is back from the white man's land. Oh, the prince, Amara said with shock. She nodded. Well, excuse me, please. I have to be on my way. Okay then, see you some other time, she said, smiling. As soon as she left, Amara quickly swam offshore and then changed form. She didn't bother telling Siraf about her mission because he might not agree to it. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her straight to the king's palace, stopped by the entrance, and then walked in. She started to look around for Mama and saying her prayers at the same time so Mama doesn't end up bursting her bubbles. She prayed fervently so she could cooperate in case she saw her, but she didn't see anyone that looked like her. Young ladies were already standing by, ready to dance. She then walked in and stood with them. Everyone's eyes was fixed on her immediately, like one who fell directly from the sky. The prince came out of the palace, wearing a whitish robe and carrying a can of water in his right hand, and started to sprinkle it on the ground. Everyone looked at him again, like he was a ghost. Did he travel all the way to the white man's land to become a spiritualist? One of the young ladies standing behind whispered to the next person. I wonder, what's up with all these? Is he trying to cleanse the land or something? She asked. Amara expected to see the prince wearing very expensive clothes and shoes with a hat on his head, like most people who return from abroad do, but it was the opposite. The only thing that was right about his looks was the pair of shoes he had on, but wearing a white robe and carrying a can of water all the way from abroad. She was still there thinking to herself when one of the young ladies whispered to her ear, Good day. I'm the head of the young ladies here, and we do not recognize you as a member, so you cannot dance with us. We do not know you, and you are not one of us. She turned quickly to see whose voice it was, because it was quite familiar. It was that of Chidera, her little cousin's sister, late Uncle Chukwuma's daughter. She looked at her and then smiled. So you may leave now, she said harshly. Amara didn't want to create any scene, so she obeyed. As soon as she took the fourth step, the prince called on her and looked back. Hey, he said with shock and then stood on his feet. Please forgive me for wasting your precious time. I know you guys would have been done dancing by now if I hadn't said those long opening prayers. He said, I said it, he's a spiritualist, she said to herself. Please be the one to dance first before you leave if you're in such a hurry, he said. What? The young ladies said together. But she's not one of us. She's not from here, Chidera screamed. What difference does it make? Let her dance, he said, taking his seat. Amara danced so beautifully, she herself didn't even know she could dance so well. The young ladies then danced after she had danced. including Ruka. She walked past Amara to perform hers, waving at her with a smile, and she waved back without a smile. She saw her beautiful waist bead. It was seated round her waist and as shiny as ever. "You don't know what's coming to you, Ruka," she talked to herself, still staring at her. After everyone had danced, the prince called on her being the best dancer and gave her the gift of a hat, an umbrella, and a silver-colored round little thing with a cover that she tried opening there to see what it was, but couldn't. All the young ladies started to whisper in each other's ears, looking confused, including Ruka, and then she smiled. Well, after the event, she left there with her things and headed straight for the river. She thought of going to see Mama, but from what she did last, she refused to go to her house and then postponed the visit. She arrived at the river and then changed form into a mermaid, still carrying her gifts, including the silver-colored round thing she still could not open yet, so she could go show it to Siraf and tell him how beautifully she danced before the villagers. "I'm sure he'll be proud of me," she said to herself, smiling, when she heard a scream all of a sudden. "Help, I said it, she's a mermaid," and then ran away. Look and see, the voice was that of Chidera, her little cousin. She had spied on her. She swam quickly into the river and then swam home. She went into her room and then dropped the gifts on the table and sat quietly on a chair beside it to think about what had just happened. After like an hour, Siraf came into her room and she showed him the gifts she was given at the event, smiling from ear to ear, but he looked at her keeping a straight face. "You mean to tell me that you went back to that place?" "That same place?" he asked. "Yes, of course. I'll still go back there because I have an unfinished business over there, remember? I need to teach some people a lesson, and I need to reclaim what was once mine from someone I once called my best friend. I will never allow her shine with a gift she knows nothing about how it was given to me." "The waist bead?" he asked. She stopped for a second. "Wait, have I once told you about it?" she asked. "I'm a merman, remember? About the waist bead. You're now a mermaid, so why don't you just use your powers in claiming back what's yours?" he said, folding his arms. "No, I don't want it to happen that way. I want to look Ruka in the eye and ask her why she did what she did," she said. Very well then," he said. "Well, I'll be leaving to my chamber now," he said, and then turned. "But you haven't even taken proper look at these gifts I brought. I thought that you were going to be proud of me when you see them." "My dear, of course I am proud of you and will always be," he said with smiles, and then she nodded. "I'll see you later," he said, and left her room. She picked up the silver-colored gift and tried to open it forcefully, but all attempts failed. She then got up and picked the mirror the Queen Mermaid had given her so she could check on Mama, but the condition at which she saw her brought tears into her eyes, and her heart also started to beat faster. She saw her lying down on a mat under a tree, while Chidera, her little cousin, was seated beside her and crying her eyes out. "Oh my," she said with shock, and then swam quickly to the shore, where she changed form and ran straight home. She totally forgot that Chidera had seen her turn into a mermaid. As soon as she arrived at the compound and looked at Chidera, that was when she remembered that she saw her when she actually changed form. Mama got up to her surprise and then sat on the mat. Chidera stopped while staring and pointing at Amara at the same time, then stood on her feet. "You the mermaid," she said with shock, and attempted to run away when Mama quickly grabbed her leg and held it tightly in her arms. No, she's a mermaid." She kept on screaming at the top of her voice when Mama suddenly got up and covered her mouth. "Stop it, keep quiet, she's harmless," Mama said directly into her ear, and then she calmed down, but fear was written all over her face, and then she began to shiver while holding Mama's hand in a very tight grip. Amara became so uncomfortable and made up her mind to leave. "I should be on my way," she said. "No, not yet. Come sit," she said, pointing at a stool before her. She went to sit, and as soon as she did, Chidera quickly stood behind Mama. "It's okay, Chidera. Please excuse us," Mama said. "What? You and her?" she asked to be sure of what she had just heard. "Yes, just me and her. Like I said before, she's harmless and can't even hurt a fly," Mama assured. Chidera left for Mama's room and kept on looking back till she entered her room. "She now stays with you?" Amara asked. "Yes, since my own daughter chose other creatures above me, I had to go beg her to come stay with me." I have been very sick for days now, unable to either stand on my feet or put something into my mouth, she said, looking into her daughter's eyes, but she immediately bowed her head. You know, after the event, she returned home to tell me all that happened and how she sneaked after a beautiful young lady and then saw her changed form into a mermaid right before her very eyes, and I immediately knew it was you. You never even bothered to come check on your own mother when you came into the village, Mama said, smiling. I'm so disappointed, Amara. Well, you know what's best for you. At least if I die now, I would die a once happy but now sad and childless woman, she said, wiping her tears with the edge of her wrapper. Amara went on her knees immediately. Mama, please don't say that. You of all people should understand me better. It is too late to leave them now. And where do you want me to stay if I leave, because they might take back this look and return me back to my old self? Mama grabbed her hands. We can leave here and relocate to my own village together, Amara, she said, looking into her eyes, but she immediately looked away. What about the pregnancy, Mama? You cannot carry it. Tell them to take it back. I'm sure they know how to, she said. No, please, I can't do that. Then all of a sudden, a guard walked in on Amara and her mother, with Chidera following slowly behind. What's going on? Amara thought to herself, turning to look at her mother who sat there with her mouth open. Good day, everyone, the guard said. Chidera here came to report to us that a certain mermaid is here in your house, and the king has requested her presence at the palace. What? Chidera, you did this? Amara's mother asked, looking at her niece. Mama, I am sorry, Chidera said, scratching her head. Keep quiet, Amara's mother yelled, getting up suddenly. No, she's not a mermaid, and you are not going anywhere with her, she added angrily. Amara stood up, sensing the tension. Mama, please allow him to do his job. Let me go with him to the palace. Nothing is going to happen to me, she said, trying to calm her mother. I am coming with you, her mother insisted, still glaring at Chidera. Chidera, you did this, she asked again, disbelief evident in her voice. As they made their way to the palace, they encountered Ruka. She stopped as soon as she saw them, then whispered to Chidera. What's going on? Chidera stopped before her and whispered back, She's a mermaid. Ruka's jaw dropped immediately. Amara turned and looked at Ruka, letting out a small, knowing smile. Her mother, very angry, took off one of her shoes and threw it at Ruka, who managed to dodge it. I never knew you had such a loose mouth, Amara's mother lashed out at Chidera. They continued to the palace, where the king was seated with the elders. After exchanging greetings, the king looked at Amara. Beautiful young lady, he began, please do not be offended that we called you in such a manner. Information reached us that you're a mermaid. We don't know how true it is, but we would like you to prove to us that you're not. And if you are, let us know so that we can celebrate you, for we know that mermaids are carriers of good luck and fortune, and gold and silver are all within your reach. Tell us so we will know how to wish and what to wish for, which I know that you will fulfill. Am I speaking your minds? He said, turning to the elders. Of course. Yes, they all said together. Amara looked at their faces one after the other, then let out a smile. Yes, I'm a mermaid, she admitted. But before I say anything else, please call Ruka and Dogo for me. Ruka the dancer, the king asked, and Amara nodded. Guards, hurry up and call Ruka and Dogo her husband, the king ordered. After a few minutes, Ruka and Dogo arrived. Amara turned to them, her eyes burning with a mix of hurt and determination. Dogo, she began, enough of all your evil acts in this land. You have killed too many people, including my uncle Chukwuma. As soon as she mentioned this, the elders screamed together. Amara then took a few steps towards Ruka and began walking around her in circles. And Ruka, she continued, her voice steady, you betrayed your own best friend, Amara, who trusted you with her life. She told you a mermaid gave her a waist bead she danced with during the dance festival. And what did you do? You reported to the king that she used magic powers. And then you took the bead from her, failure to repeat the dance. She was later banished. And then you go about like a saint as if nothing is wrong. Isn't that the bead still on your waist? Amara asked, her eyes fixed on the shining ornament around Ruka's waist. What? Is that correct, Ruka? The king said angrily, his face twisted with anger and disbelief. Ruka, shaking, managed to nod. "Yes, Your Highness," she stuttered, and everybody around screamed together again. At that moment, the prince walked in, still wearing his white robe, but this time without a can of water. He was immediately shown to sit, and then the king turned back to Amara. "Please, I understand that you're a mermaid, but was it Amara herself who told you all these?" he asked, his voice filled with curiosity and confusion. "Your Highness, please allow me to say something," Amara's mother interrupted, her finger raised in the air. "Go on," the king ordered. "Please, I know that the prince is a spiritualist. Tell him to help me pray for her. I need her back," she begged, her voice thick with emotion. Amara turned to her mother quickly as soon as she heard that, her jaw dropping in shock. "Mama!" she said with shock, realizing the depth of her mother's love and desperation. "I don't understand you, woman," the king said, his brow wrinkled in confusion. Amara's mother took a deep breath before explaining. "Your Highness, that is Amara, standing right before you. When she was banished, she had no shelter, and then she went to the river for refuge. The Queen Mermaid took her, and then changed her into another human so no one would recognize her, even if she came around to visit me." "What?" the king said with shock, and everybody present started talking in whispers. "Is that true, young lady?" one of the elders asked, his eyes wide with disbelief. The prince stood up and walked towards Amara, attempting to lay a hand on her head. But Amara, feeling cornered and afraid, shouted, "Don't you dare!" Her eyes shone as bright as light, and she ran away. Amara rushed to the river, changed form, and then swam home quickly. She reached her underwater chamber and went straight into her room to think about everything she had just witnessed. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions and conflicting loyalties. "Mama," she said with shock, her heart heavy with the weight of her mother's pain and her own divided existence. As Amara struggled with the consequences of her revealed identity, she knew that her life would never be the same. The worlds of land and sea had collided, and she found herself caught in the turbulent waters between them, unsure of where she truly belonged. Amara, overwhelmed by the events that had happened, picked up the gifts the prince had given her. She tried repeatedly to force open the silver-colored object, and finally it opened. To her shock, it was a mirror. As soon as she saw her face reflected in it, she threw the mirror aside, remembering the warning never to use a human mirror. "Oh my," she said with shock, her heart racing. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder shook her room, and the walls split open. Amara shook in fear, calling out for Siraf. To her horror, the Queen Mermaid appeared, accompanied by several other mermaids, their eyes giving off threatening smoke. Amara fell to her knees immediately. "Please have mercy on me, please forgive me," was all she could manage to say. The Queen Mermaid's voice boomed with anger. "How dare you betray us? After all I've done for you, this is how you repay me." She raised her hand threateningly. "I shall turn you into a statue, so that it will serve as a lesson to every mermaid around here, never to help humans." Just as the queen was about to cast her spell, Siraf burst into the room. "No, mother, please temper justice with mercy," he begged. "She is carrying my child, remember? Please let her go back to her world, and then bring back my child somehow, after he or she is born." Siraf then turned to Amara, his eyes filled with disappointment and hurt. "I thought I could trust you, Amara, but you betrayed me, you betrayed us. Bring my child back, and then go, and never return. Failure to bring my child back, and I shall destroy you, your people, and the entire village." "Siraf," Amara called out, her voice breaking. The Queen Mermaid raised her hand and pointed it towards Amara. In an instant, Amara changed back into her old self. "Leave here now," the Queen shouted. With a heavy heart, Amara left the underwater kingdom and made her way back to her village. As soon as her mother and father saw her, they were startled. Her mother hurried to her and held her in a tight embrace, bursting into tears. Her father came closer, begging for forgiveness for his past actions. In the weeks that followed, Amara learned that the prince wasn't actually a spiritualist, but a priest of the Roman Catholic Church. He began preaching the gospel around the village, and a church was built, though it started with very few members. Ruka was banished from the village for her lies, and Dogo was beheaded for his crimes, his body thrown in the evil forest. The king took the waist bead from Ruka and later gave it to Amara, but she never used it again, choosing instead to keep it safely stored away. Months passed, and Amara gave birth to the most beautiful baby boy she had ever seen. On the day of his birth, she wrapped him in a cloth and took him to the river, along with the waist bead the king had seized from Ruka. She picked up 6 stones and threw them into the river, calling the mermaids. The queen mermaid appeared, her eyes softening at the sight of the child. "Look, my most precious gift is born," she said, carefully taking the baby from Amara. Amara held out the waist bead. "This is the waist bead you once gave me. Please take it and thank you for all the things you did for me in the past," she said, her voice shaking. The queen collected it from her. "I actually miss you so much, Amara, but there's nothing I can do. I forgive you," she said, her tone touched with sadness. "Thank you," I had to manage to say, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, wish for anything and it shall be done," the queen offered. "To see Siraf again," Amara said between sobs. "Wish for another, that is impossible because he doesn't want to see you," the queen replied gently. Amara nodded, understanding. "I understand. I wish for everything good then," she said. "So be it," the queen answered. She turned and left with Amara's child, disappearing beneath the river's surface. In the days that followed, Amara began attending the prince's church and became born again. Gradually, almost everyone in the village became a member of the church. Amara found that whatever she involved herself in prospered, a lasting blessing from her time with the mermaids. As Amara rebuilt her life in the human world, she often thought of her son beneath the waves and the magical underwater kingdom she had once called home. Though her heart ached for what she had lost, she found solace in her faith and in the love of her family and community. She had bridged 2 worlds and emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, ready to face whatever the future might bring. The end. Thank you for following this series till the end. If you enjoyed it, please drop a comment. Let us know what you learnt from the series. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting lesson-packed stories. Thank you once again. We love you.